Hello, and thank you for taking care of Scout. I just wanted to go over some of the basic maintenance things that you should know while you're living with him. So Scout eats 3 cups of food a day, and by a cup I mean a literal measuring unit of a cup. It can be anywhere from 2 to 3 cups. When Scout eats food, he typically takes all day to eat it. So you could put all 3 cups, 2 to 3 cups in his dog bowl at the start of the day, and he'll take the entire day to eat it. And you could come back the next day and some of that food is left over. Don't be alarmed or worried if that happens. I would leave water out for him constantly unless there's he's having accidents or something. He should not be having accidents. He is potty trained. He does not like to go in the place that he is living. But there have been occasions where he'd be potentially getting a UTI, and then he can't hold it for whatever reason, and then it would be good to limit his access to water. But for the most part, that should not be happening, and so he should have 24-hour access to water. Foods to avoid. So he can eat, for example, corn, but he can't eat the cob. So if you make corn on the cob, you can give him some of the corn, just don't give him the actual cob to eat. And in general, just try to look up the food that you're kind of giving him and be really aware of the amounts. If you give him a large quantity of food that he's not used to eating, there's a high potential he'll have a lot of diarrhea the next day. And if he has diarrhea, then he'll need to go out, drop it, about every 3 hours. So in order to avoid any bowel issues, it's always best to just stick with the food that he has. And at max about a cup of any food you use as a treat. Speaking of treats, some great treats for Scout would include cheddar cheese, or canned chicken, or little pieces of bacon. But when you're giving him a treat for training purposes, this is only if that's something that you want to do. Obviously, I'm not expecting you to train, but if that was something that you were interested in doing, I would keep those pieces as certainly no bigger than my nail, but potentially even half that size while training, because ideally in training he's getting a ton of them all the time, and so you want to make sure that you can reward his behavior without being almost immediately stunted because you've run out of treats, or because you don't want to give him more and potentially precipitate some diarrhea. During the day, if you hide the toys in your house or apartment, Scout will most likely sleep most of the day. If you have any toys out, there's a huge probability that he's just going to try to play with you the entire day, which is really fun and also good. But if you're looking for downtime, there's no real way that I've found to really get Scout to stop playing unless you hide toys. And some other things to keep in mind when it comes to hiding things, I would try to keep a lid on any trash cans, because Scout tries to get into trash cans. So I kind of have lidded trash cans now. He also super enjoys tug. So if you are looking for a high reward activity to do inside, I would play tug. He does know a few commands with regards to this. He knows drop it, he knows leave it, and he knows this command, take it. Good boy, drop it. Good boy, take it. Yeah. He also knows tug, actually, so if you say tug, then he will immediately begin tugging backwards. Although I don't know why you would need to play that one, use that one, I guess. Drop it. So one more thing to go over with regards to like living with Scout would be sleeping with him. He will occasionally sleep in my bed. He doesn't have any, like, I haven't trained him to avoid getting up on couches or chairs or beds, but for the most part, he doesn't like sleeping with people in the same bed. You're more than welcome to try if that's something you want. He just is, there's a likelihood he'll get up in the middle of the night and just like leave you. So don't be alarmed if that happens. And then there are 2 things to keep in mind when you're just kind of out and about with Scout. And the first one is what to do if Scout somehow gets loose and you really need him right away and you're scared. And the other one is walking with Scout on a leash when he's trying really, really hard to tug. So I'll go over what to do if he is like running away, and then how to walk with him. So if you are outside or somewhere where you really need to control Scout's behavior, then something to really pay attention to and cement this in your mind now is that dogs like to chase, and most of them have been programmed since like puppyhood to listen to someone who's squealing pup, pup, pup. And so if he gets loose and you really need to get a hold of him again, in a very high-pitched voice, start shouting pup, 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 and run away from him, right? And so I'm gonna demonstrate really quickly. Let's say that he is running that way. So he's running away from me, in front of me. What I'm gonna do is say, pup, 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 pup. Good boy, good boy. And this is something that's really good to practice at home so that he knows that if you're doing that for him, he can follow you and hopefully get treats at the end of that. I have some sausage here, and I'm just breaking it up into little pieces and dropping it next to me. And so, pup, 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 pup. All right, so now let's say that you need to take Scout for a walk. The best time to walk Scout is after you have played fetch with him, because he's tired and so he doesn't want to walk very quickly. But if you're facing a situation where he's got a ton of energy and you just need to let him out, take him for a walk, then a great way to slow him down is to, come here, Scout, good boy, is to basically loop this around his torso or his legs. So hold on, bud. You just get it around here and then you kind of loop it under again so that it creates sort of this kind of looking structure so that if he tugs on his end, it doesn't choke his throat. The main goal here being that he doesn't self-choke, and the second goal being to slow him down, because if he's tugging, you do want some kind of restraint to let him know you don't really appreciate that. And so him tugging will cause this to tighten around his hips. There you go, good boy. Thank you, what a good boy.